Planet Dolan. From kidnapping a child's dog to throwing trash off a roof, the Planet Dolan crew reenacts some of the best true stories from our subreddit about the worst things neighbors have ever done. I'm Danger Dolan. Today I'll be your narrator. Number 8 was submitted by Jiggy Bean. When Honeybits was about 7 or 8, she had a beagle named Patches that her mum got for her. She was very sweet and quiet most of the time, but dogs will be dogs when they're outside. They had recently moved into a new home and only met the neighbours who lived on either side of them. One day, Honeybits was walking home and noticed the house in the corner had a new dog in their fenced-in front yard. The dog ran up to the fence and it turned out to be her Patches. She asked them where they got the dog and they said they found her in their yard and thought she was abandoned. Honeybits told them that the dog is hers. When they gave her back, she took Patches home. Honeybits and her family decided it would be best to keep her tied up in their back when she was outside alone to keep her from escaping. For the next few weeks, Honeybits and her family would come home to find their side gate wide open, the dog untied, sitting in the front yard. They knew it wasn't the dog opening the gate because you had to push down the handle to lift the latch. Unfortunately, it didn't take too long until her poor puppy was gone altogether. They had no clue what had happened until a few years later when Honeybits' mum and a neighbour got in a heated argument. The neighbour confessed to putting Patches in someone else's yard, and when that didn't work, she would come over every day and open the gate in hopes the dog would run away. This lady ended up being a crazy psycho drunk. Number 7 was submitted by Silver Twill. When Shima was a kid, her family lived in a really close community. Everyone knew their neighbours were drug dealers. When Shima was 13, her mum screamed, but shut up real quick. Like any curious kid, she went to the window to peek out. There were 35 SWAT and ATF guys using the front yard as a staging area, and her mum screamed because one popped up right in front of the window. Apparently the neighbours were not only selling drugs, but also making them in the basement of their house. They had a bunch of guns to keep people out. About 10 years later, it happened again. Only the one making the drugs ended up being the landlord. He just used what was left to make a grow site. Shima hopes they have the same jail because the landlord was the one who turned the neighbors in. Evidently, he thought it would be a great idea to start doing the exact same thing that got the people who were in his building arrested. Number 6 was submitted by White Alakazam. When Pringle was a baby, his dad had a dog named Poncho, who was this huge but sweet dog. He would sleep under Pringle's crib, and if he made any noise, Poncho would run and wake up his mum and dad. One day it was really hot outside, so they left Poncho a big bucket of water while they went somewhere. When they came back, all the water was gone, and Poncho was dead. What happened was that the people next door were scared of the dog because it was so big and looked mean. So, they put antifreeze into his water. It tastes kinda sweet, so Poncho drank it all before he realized what a horrible error he's made and then died on the spot. Pringle's family could never prove they did it because the water was all gone. Number 5 was submitted by Mary Hearn. Nixium had a bunch of kids for neighbors and they were out of control. They once broke his mum's sidecar mirror. When they told the parents told them to fuck off. Almost 3 months ago, his neighbors got a female pit bull puppy. They barely took care of her, leaving her outside in the Las Vegas heat with very little water and food. The kids were rough with her too. They kicked and threw and just abused her. Nixium told the parents about it, and they told him that it was their animal, and they could just do whatever they pleased. One morning, Nixium realized the dog was gone from the yard. He just ignored it, but the day after, he smelled an unbearable smell coming from their house. He soon realized it was coming from a trash can that they had conveniently placed close to the fence. Nixium opened it, and of course, the dog was in there, dead. He went and told them to move the trash can, but they ignored him. So he moved it because the smell was going into his room and the whole house. They got mad at him for doing that. Now his parents have a turtle they just leave outside in the sun where the kids play with it as a toy. The neighbors were also careless with their kids. They have a 2-year-old son they left outside in the streets alone. And they got mad at Nixium because he put the kid back in the yard and closed the fence. He did that twice because the little kid was so close to being run over both times. NXIVM called the police, but they can't do anything about it because he has no solid proof. My advice to NXIVM in that situation was to wait until the kid became a splatter on the pavement. Then you bring in the police and you illustrate, okay, this is what happened. Oh, there you go. Oh, I mean, I was easily prevented, but hey, it's not my responsibility, not my kid, dude. Number 4 was submitted by the Superior Nug Nug. Tolop had horrid neighbors who lived in 2 apartments. His neighbors across the hall were just plain straight from hell. They blasted music every 3 weeks, and Tolop was the only one in the entire building with the nuts to call the police. The neighbors blamed him for it, even though it could have been anyone in the whole damn building who made the call. They were yelling at his door, thrashing into it, and laughing at it. That poor door. Number 3 was submitted by Techno Moxington. This happened 2 years ago to Hellbent and his dad, who were working in the backyard all day. And when they were done, they decided to make a little fire pit. About 10 minutes into their little fire, Hellbent saw their neighbor peek over the fence to see what the smoke was about, then went back into her house. When that happened, Hellbent thought it was nothing. But 10 minutes later, when he went inside his house, he heard a loud knock at the door. It was the fire department. The neighbor called the fire department on them because they made a tiny fire pit. Hellbent and his dad were also forced to put it out, and this got his parents a bit salty. Today that neighbor has moved out, or will move out, because there is a for sale sign in front of their house. Hellbent doesn't think they like them after that. Number 2 is submitted by Gumball RV. So in Emoji's home country of Bulgaria, there lived his ugly old 80-year-old neighbor. In his neighborhood, there is a wall dividing every single house. His grandma likes to let vines grow on the side of their wall, but not the neighbors. The lady knew about it and she hated them. So she climbed up the 10-foot wall and cut the vines. And she continued to do this every time they grew back. But it gets so much worse. Emoji's grandma loves animals and had 3 cats, 2 of them babies. The mum would climb up the wall and venture out like any normal cat. But the crazy lady set up a trap and caught her. The other neighbors had dogs that would eat anything that goes in the yard. The old lady then fed their pet cats to the dogs. The 2 babies are now left alone with no mother. And one day, the old lady caught them, and after that, Emoji and his family never saw them again. Even worse, she blamed it on his grandpa. This has happened to almost every pet Emoji's grandma has had during the time they were neighbors. So story number 1 was submitted by me. And this happened I think about a year ago, and it still pisses me off. I was in a building that had about 10 floors, quite a few number of tenants. And me and Gooby were just kind of lounging around minding our own business. Asleep I think. And then the fire alarm went off. And so we were scrambling all over the fucking apartment, you know, grabbing some shit, trying to get the cat into her fucking box. She just would not get in the box. She's just being a pain in the ass. And then finally, we managed it and went out the front of the building with everyone else, and we were waiting, you know, oh my god, there's a fire, everyone's gonna die. And then the firemen came, and then they left, and I asked them, hey, what happened? They were like, oh, one of your neighbors was smoking outside, and they must have left it and not put it out, and so it triggered the alarm. I'm like, what? It's stupid! And so we all had to get up at 3 a.m. and wait for like an hour in morbid terror. That's not the worst part. The worst part is while I was looking for my cat, my keys fell off my chain and I was locked out of my apartment all night because the real estate that had the backup keys weren't open until 9 a.m. And so Gooby and I luckily met a neighbor that let us stay over there for the night. And then we went out, we got some breakfast, we came back, got the spare key and got inside. All because some dickhead, probably Hellbent, didn't put out their fucking cigarette! Huge thanks to the folks of the Planet Doll subreddit for submitting their stories! We have another question for you. What was the scariest thing that ever happened in your neighborhood? Let us know on the Reddit page linked below! And you might be featured in a future countdown. That's it for this video, and have a good one!
Eventually, his roommate did trip the trap by breaking through the locked door and got stabbed by a kitchen knife. He then tried to log on to Hellbent's PC before passing out from the pain.